Welcome in today. Today we're going to be talking about subcontractors. So today's question comes from Chris. And what Chris is asking is it looks like he's going to be starting a new account or looking at starting a new account. He wants to know about subcontracting. So he wants to any information that we have. I shot him a quick post earlier about this, but I wanted to shoot a longer video talking more in depth about this particular thing because working with subcontractors can be very sticky if you're not careful. So in this video, we're going to cover this particular question about hiring a subcontractor, and we're going to cover a couple more things. Obviously, before we begin, I want to say I'm not a lawyer, so consult an attorney to make sure that whatever you do in your state is legal. This is going to be some general basics that you should do no matter where you're at or what you're doing. You should probably follow. So we're going to talk about understanding what a subcontractor is. We're going to talk about ways we can find these legitimate business owners. We're going to talk about our sub-agreement. We're going to talk about other legal documents like a W-9. So to get started, the first thing I want to do is I want to share with you guys what the IRS says a subcontractor is. So let me get that pulled up for you so you can see. That will be fine. All right. So right here, it's a general rule of thumb. An individual is an independent contractor if they have the right to control the result of their work. They're not an independent contractor if it's controlled by somebody else. So the first rule of thumb is you have to make sure that you don't dictate how they do a job. You guys can only agree on the outcome of what that job looks like. So that's first rule is definitely make sure that you're you have something in place that you're making sure that they understand what the job is, but you're not dictating to them how to do it. So that's step one. Step two, how do we find these legitimate business owners? So these legitimate business owners, you can find them in multiple ways, right? If you're in groups like this one that you're on right now, you can put out messages on any social media, your Facebook post, right here where you're in Scale and School. You can reach out to people that may know people in that area. There's a bunch of different ways that you can do that. If all else fails, you can always pick up the phone and start dialing people and say, hey, you interested in getting some more work in your area? Now, when you do that, make sure that they fall into that category of what IRS is saying is a legitimate business owner. You can't dictate what they do, only the result. You also need to make sure they have other things in place, insurances and things to make sure that you're covered and your customer is covered in the event that there's something that happens. Next, you're going to want to make sure that everybody's covered under some sort of subcontractor agreement. So in that agreement, there's different things that you may want to put in there. You're going to want to have some sort of service expectation or scope of work or something that describes what they're doing or the expectations. You'll probably want to have in there as well how that you hold them accountable and they hold themselves and or any of their employees or cleaners also accountable. You'll want to talk about when they have access to the building, who's responsible for letting you know if things need to be changed, whether they have to contact through you or whether they have to contact the customer directly, or if you don't want that you specify that as well. You're going to want to talk about accessibility, when times that they can and cannot be in the building, who is authorized and not authorized, what happens in the event that the customer canceled, how do they get keys, badges, fobs, how does that stuff get back to you to get back to the customer. Other things that you may want to talk about is maybe if there's safety concerns, or if there's things in the building that they need to address with maintenance, that there's protocols that you have in place for that. You'll talk about the insurance requirements that you have, other things that show they're a legitimate business, like business license or any other things like that. You may ask for certifications or anything like that. You can ask for that. Also in that, you want to probably detail out your what your expectation is for them not showing up. And then you'll most certainly want to put expectation for how you expect to be invoiced, because if they can't invoice you, that should be a red flag that they may not be a business. How you expect to be invoiced, and also when. So you can have deadlines on when you get invoiced, and you can have expectations of when they're going to get paid. So there's not this huge back and forth. You can have all that lined out, ironed out. You'll probably want to have a clause in there about some sort of non-compete, that they can't target your customers for a specific length of time afterwards. Obviously, consult an attorney for how that looks in your state. On anything at all, whether it's employee or subcontractor agreements that I do, there's always a extremely specific policy about drugs and alcohol. So you'll probably want to do something along those lines. You may want to have other things in there as well, maybe something about theft, or things about what they're expected to wear or not allowed to wear while they're servicing your customer, things about how you can arbitrate this particular contract, this subcontract, in the event that you guys need to go to arbitration. If it gets to that point, it's easier to have what your next steps are before you move on with that. And then anything else you may have in there, how they can cancel working with you, expectation of what that looks like, any other miscellaneous things, including maybe background checks and things like that. Last but not least, capture a W-9. Make sure you have that on file with everything else. So you can be able to do that. A quick Google search for W-9 will pull up the latest copy. As of now, I'll put in the notes in the description, I'll put a current W-9 for 2023. That may change. As of right now in 2023, we're still working off the 2018 W-9, but that could change. So if you're watching this video later on, you may want to double check there's not a newer version of the W-9 before you just download this one. So quick recap, use legitimate business owners. You can find these guys through networking, through your social and Facebook groups, through individuals that you may know in that live in that area or can refer you. And then the worst case scenario, you can always cold call, right? If you need somebody in that area, you can always look up cleaning companies and look for ones that don't have websites and look like they can do what you need. Give them a call and go from there. So there's definitely ways to find people to subcontract that will subcontract for you. So anyways, I hope you found this helpful. If you did, man, hit the subscribe button, show me some love, and ask me some questions in the comments. Until next time,